thanks to the support as a channel member, Michael Beagles. Oh, for the first time in its 149-year history, Preston North End find themselves in European competition. What more do I have to do to get onto the favoured personnel list? Ben Whiteman's on there, for goodness sake. Hello and welcome to Club 2, Part 32 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our first ever game in Europe against Victoria Plzen in the Europa League. We also play Norwich in the Premier League. The Europa League, if you've not seen the new version of how the European competitions look a few years in the future, the Europa League now looks a lot like this. It's one big 36-team league, and then we play, I think it's 8 matches as part of this league stage. So the fixtures we've got coming up, they go all the way through to the end of January. But the big matches, we've got Napoli, which will probably be tomorrow's episode. We might even do Napoli and Galatasaray as a double header tomorrow. But the rest, I mean, Leverkusen, I guess we'll tie Leverkusen in with a January transfer window. But looking at that, all we have to do is finish in the top 24 out of 36 teams. If we don't do that, it's a disaster. If we can get into the top 8, we do get a bye into the next round of the competition. So the top 24 go into this knockout playoff round. I am not great in things called playoffs. I do count these as playoffs because they're called playoffs. I also haven't won one of these. I have now had 20 consecutive playoff defeats without a win. So I'd quite like to finish top 8, ignore the knockout playoff round that comes after the league phase in February, and go straight through to this round of 16. That's the plan, which means we've got to finish top 8, which means we have to win matches like this one. Since you were last with me, the Premier League season has started really rather well. As you can see, we are undefeated in the Premier League, currently finding ourselves in 5th place, hovering around about where we'd like to be at the end of the season. If we can finish 5th place again with Europe going on at the same time, I think that has to be classed as a good season. There has been no further transfer business since the last episode. Andrew Robertson, the last player to come in. Dennis Simon, who took a lot of heat in the comments section. Tell you what, he's good. He's played 3 matches for us now on a 7.43 average rating, 2 clean sheets, a man of the match. I am going with Blanco again today because I am basically rotating back and forth between the two of them. But Blanco has played one match fewer, conceded 2 goals more, and is only averaging a 6.95. I know a lot of people think the Dennis Simon deal was a waste of money. I think those extra 4 inches are going to prove crucial. They're very similar ability-wise. That doesn't tell the story of the fact that Dennis Simon is a big, commanding presence in goal, and certainly statistics-wise, if you put them head-to-head on the season so far, you can see Simon is ahead on conceded per 90. Neither of them have got any assists, but Simon also has a better pass completion ratio. Blanco does have more saves per 90 despite conceding more goals, mainly because I'm playing him in more difficult games. So it's not a completely fair comparison just yet. Obviously, there's only been 5 games played, but Simon so far does have the much better average rating. Bottom line, we've got 2 very good goalkeepers. I am going to try to rotate them both to the point where they both remain happy. I don't know if it's doable, but goodness me, are we going to try? The fact that Simon's also got the big matches trait is pretty important as well. We might have to rotate around which one of them we're playing in the more difficult matches. But this is the team for today's game against Victoria Plzen. We are rotating a bit because we kind of need to prioritise the Premier League. We want to make sure we qualify for Europe again for next season, but we're not rotating so much that we're playing just a team of reserves. Obviously, we've got the likes of Mancia, Watson, Rafa, Blanco, all in there, Sartori, these are Sana, these are all regular first team starters, but we are trying a few players in positions they wouldn't normally play. Scott on the right wing, for example, Simon Darlington at centre-back, which I think if he's got a future with us in the Premier League, it probably is at centre-back. So we're going to try him there again today. Or I say again, we're going to try him there today. And then Marin getting another opportunity to play for us at left back, although he is recovering from injury, so unlikely to play the entire match. So the team for our first ever game in Europe: Blanco in goal, a back four of Marin, Jovic, Darlington and Walters, Sana and Rafa in midfield, Sartori, Watson and Scott then behind Mancia up front. Jonathan Tamang, by the way, has now got his first goal for us as well. He came off the bench and grabbed a goal for us in a recent match. So the continued emergence of Jonathan Tamang continues, to the point where the more I think about it, the more I think the future of Reyes is competing with Watson in the attacking midfield position. And it'll actually be Mancia and Tamang who are fighting for that starting spot up front. Completely different kinds of player. Tamang's the big target man lump. Mancia is the super fast advanced forward. They'd make a great partnership, actually. But I don't see myself playing a two up top system anytime soon. I'm just too fancy for those kind of things, boys and girls. While we're on the topic of European adventures as well, oh, look what he's doing here, promoting his Twitch channel. What a monster. If you haven't been following along with the Twitch save that started with Penabont, either on twitch.tv/LOLLUJO or over on LOLLUJO 2 here on YouTube, Alex Scott demonstrating that he can play on the right wing. Our first ever goal in Europe has come from a central midfielder playing out of position on the right. Alex Scott scores. We'll get back to my shameless plug in a moment. Let's just have a look at this replay. Darlington played it forward to Sana. Sana with a lovely ball for Scott, who I thought was going to square it. I think the goalkeeper probably did as well, and he's kind of caught the goalkeeper off balance and tucked it in at that far post. Lovely finish from Scott. Maybe he can play as a winger after all. But as I was saying, the Twitch save slash LOLLUJO 2 save, depending on where you watch it, you should be watching it on both. It's super fun to watch on both. But we have now moved on from Penabont. If you're not fully up to date, I apologise for the spoiler, but it's happened like 4 or 5 days ago. You should be up to date by now. And we have now moved to Servette in Switzerland. You've not missed much of that. You can get yourself up to date on LOLLUJO 2. There's only a couple of episodes at Servette that have already happened, and I am going to be streaming that save tonight from about 6:37ish at twitch.tv/LOLLUJO. So if you like the idea of European fun and seeing me hanging out in Switzerland, come and hang out with us on Twitch tonight. Last time I mentioned Twitch on YouTube, we had like a gazillion people come into the stream and it was super fun. So let's have a gazillion people in again tonight. Let's have a party and let's see what we can do over in Geneva. But focusing back in on this European adventure, you can see that we are still 1-0 up as we approach the hour point of the match. Fairly aimless ball forward that Blanco collects very comfortably, rolls it out to Darlington. Darlington, I mean, I don't know if we can say he's had a good game because he's not really been challenged. He's not looked uncomfortable playing at centre-back, though. He was involved in the goal. He's looked completely fine alongside Jovic, who is our most inexperienced defender to go alongside him. And he doesn't look out of place. So I think that is promising for Simon Darlington's future. I think he's probably is a little bit too slow and he's not a winger. You know what I like in my wing backs? I want emphasis on the wing, not the back. So I think Darlington, as an out-and-out defender, although he would work well as a right back in a team that wants to play a proper defender at right back, for me, he probably is a defensive midfielder or a centre-back, and he's looked all right at centre-back for us today. Watson plays it across to Sana, who in turn finds Jovic. We've still got men crowded forward off the back of this corner, and Walters has got it out wide on the right-hand side. He's going to look to play a cross in, and it's a terrible attempt at a cross. It just bounces back off the Plizen player, and it ends up back with Jovic again. And now Marin, who probably needs to come off. He shouldn't really be playing the full match, but he is going to be involved in this attack. And now Sartori trying to get the cross in. He also can't beat his first man. And it's back with Sana, who plays it through beautifully to Sartori, who unselfishly plays it into the path of Watson, when really Sartori should probably be having a shot there and would have likely scored. As it is, we've won the corner. It's going to be Simon Darlington to take, which, if he is going to be a centre-back for us, probably taking corners isn't something that he can carry on doing. Look at us being fancy here. But once again, we try and be fancy with the short corners and find ourselves offside. Short corners do not work in FM23. I've discovered that since experimenting a bit with short corners. Right, we are going to take Darlington off. De Klerk can come on for him as we look to just protect our lead here. Likewise, Marin can come off, and I think we're going to bring on Carlos Eduardo to play at left back. Marin wasn't fully fit to play the entire match, and it's been a very quiet outing for Mancia up front. So Reyes is going to come back in up top. Reyes probably still is our first choice starting striker at the moment. I and a lot of the comments section do agree that Mancia is going to be excellent once he settles in, but at the moment, Reyes is our main goal threat still. So as we're only 1-0 up, let's get 3 proper first teamers on just to hopefully see us over the finish line. Sartori's got in behind here. If he can square it to Reyes, he can't. But it falls to Watson, who I think he hits the post and then gets a second bite of the cherry and does score at the second time of asking. It was absolute defensive chaos there. I would be distraught if I'd have conceded this goal. Sartori gets in behind, does well, cuts it back when I thought he was going to try and drill it across the penalty area. It takes that deflection, and then Watson is there to capitalise, and it's 2-0, and that should be that. So now we can probably make some more relaxed youngster changes. I think probably one of which will be Watson coming off, who is still recovering from injury himself. We're going to drop Reyes back there and get Tamang on. Any opportunity to get Tamang onto the pitch is an opportunity that we look to take. Likewise, David Braddock, I'm always keen to get more game time into. So I think, there's not really anywhere to put him. So Braddock might have to sit this one out. I guess sensibly we take off Walters, and we could bring on Valente and put de Klerk at right back. I think we'll just bring McGuinness on though. That's probably the easiest option in the circumstances. There have been lots of people in the comments section trying to tell me how to say McGuinness's name. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right even now. I've decided he is McGuinness. If you don't like me calling him McGuinness, I don't know, set up an AI thing to replace that word with a different word on your phone whenever it hears it. There must be a way to do it. AI is really fancy now. You must have seen my thumbnails to see how fancy AI can be these days. We're top of the Europa League, by the way. Here we are having a topical chat about AI. Meanwhile, Preston are the best team in the history of Europe. Reyes trying to grab a goal for himself to add number 4, can't get it past the keeper. And Scott, unfortunately, can't keep the move going. But look at those match stats, by the way. We've turned up here and we've had a lovely time. We've restricted them to 1 shot on target, just a 0.07 XG. I don't know if that's going to do Blanco's average rating any good. What rating did Blanco get in that game? Because obviously, as a man who usually ignores average rating, when it comes to choosing between my 2 goalkeepers, when I eventually decide which one is the best one, that might be key. So Blanco. So, you know what? 7.6, that'll do. They've now played 3 matches each. If we sort them by average rating, Simon is up there as second best player. Blanco still down there just on the 7.17. So Simon still got the edge at the moment. And now we're moving back into the Premier League, a game against Norwich. Not much rest between the two, so we're probably going to have to rotate a little bit again. And this is where our squad could get stretched, because during this league stage in the Conference League, there's a lot of matches. We are playing 2 matches a week, every week. We're going to really find out how good this squad is, how much depth we really got. Well, huge number of changes and really demonstrating just how deep the squad is. It kind of answers that question I've just asked. We've made 10 changes, I want to say. I think the only player who started the game in Europe was Watson. I'm looking through the team. Just Watson, I think. So it's Simon in goal. About for Robertson, Valente, de Klerk and McGuinness. Braddock and Juan in midfield, Rojas, Watson and Ross behind Reyes up front. So I would still argue this probably isn't our first choice full strength 11. You probably have Sartori in here. You probably don't have Braddock in there. There's a few players who'd be arguing for that spot. Obviously, we don't know. I'm not committing on who our first choice goalkeeper is. It's a coin flip every match. We are literally rotating them back and forth at the moment. But it's pretty close to a first choice team, after what was, I guess, pretty close to a backup team, just won so dominantly in Europe. The question is, of course, are we going to be able to avoid the European hangover, which is such a thing in Football Manager? You would think making 10 changes coming into the Premier League game, a European hangover shouldn't be a consideration. But I know Football Manager. I've played a lot of this game over the years, and I know that probably isn't even going to matter. And we might find that we struggle a little bit today, just because we've just played in Europe, even though it basically wasn't these players. Reyes plays it back to Rojas, who drills it across, looking for Ross coming in off that right wing and can't find him. But it was a decent effort. Now Braddock in midfield playing it forward for Ross, who's got in behind here, but unfortunately lets the Norwich defender come back and cover. And now Juan in midfield playing it out to Robertson, who finds Rojas. Rojas does brilliantly. I mean, one little drop of the shoulder and he has taken 2, 3 Norwich players out of the equation there. I think the cool kids on football Twitter would refer to that as sending them to the shops. I saw that recently. Goal awarded. Let's look at this little turn from Rojas, though. He does absolutely brilliantly. He's got 3 men around him, and it's just that little... I mean, that's lovely work from Rojas. And now plays it into the path of Reyes. And as mentioned, Reyes is very much still our main man up front. That little turn there. I mean, I guess it's just the one guy that he completely sends the wrong way, but him and him were both close enough to go for Rojas if they'd have known what he was about to do. And that was lovely work from him on the left-hand side. Maybe we're not going to have a European hangover after all, because that looked brilliant from 2 players who didn't start. I mean, Rojas, did Rojas come on? I don't know that he did he? I can't remember did we make a change on the left wing in the last game? I know we brought Reyes on and he ended up playing in midfield. I think Rojas maybe sat it out entirely. De Klerk to McGuinness. I know McGuinness and De Klerk both came on in midweek, and now McGuinness doing brilliant work down the right-hand side. And it ends up with Juan heading it forward to Reyes, who can't get there ahead of the defender, but it's more excellent work. We're just not giving the Norwich defenders any time on the ball. We're constantly there hassling them, being little rascals. I, for one, love being a hassle rascal, which is definitely how I describe what our team. There's another example of hassle rascaling there from Ross. And Braddock plays it back into Ross, who's found himself in an excellent position, slides it across to Reyes, and it's number 2 of the afternoon, number 4 of the season for Ignacio Reyes. It's another little beautiful slide pass assist jobby for Ross, who was very much involved in this deal. Braddock does very well as well, but this is great football from Ross. And that is a stunning outside of the foot pass that finds Reyes, and all he needs to do is make contact with the ball, and it's ending up in the back of the net there. We've now got a corner. Robertson finds Valente, and the header goes over. You know what? I take it back, Football Manager. I apologise. Perhaps making 10 changes is how you avoid the European hangover. I haven't looked to see how good Norwich are. It might be that Norwich are just a little bit rubbish, but I think we've made so many changes that we've managed to come into this match relatively fresh. So maybe that is the answer when it comes to avoiding a European hangover. Who knew that squad rotation is a thing that I would have to learn one day? If you go back, even in a year, probably less than a year on the channel, every other comment was people telling me to rotate my team and me going, I don't know how. And every time I rotate, we lose. It seems that the system is just get so many players that they're basically interchangeable. Hence the goalkeeper thing. I've gone from one extreme to the other. I've gone from the man who can't rotate to the man who doesn't have a first team. I've got 20 players who could all start for us in the Premier League, and Ignacio Reyes is definitely one of them, and he has a hat-trick, and that has been a very good centre-forward performance from Reyes today, who, with all the talk of Mancia and Tamang and blah, 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 who's the future of playing up front for us? Maybe Reyes will have to play in midfield. He's answered me perfectly there with a first-half hat-trick, and they're all very well-taken goals. So that showed me good work. Good work, Ignacio. You win this round. Robertson looking for De Klerk at that far post, and Braddock is there. And I think that's David Braddock's first ever goal for Preston. It's certainly his first of the season. It is his first ever goal for Preston. I suspect he's robbed it off of De Klerk there. I think it might have already been going in, but who is going to begrudge our young English wonder kid? In fact, he didn't nick it. It was cleared by this guy, the number 22, and basically cleared into the face of Braddock. I don't know how much Braddock knew about this goal, to be honest, because it's basically kicked into his face. But all the same, we've gone 4-0 up before half-time. Goodness me, we're a good football team. If you look at those match stats, once again, preventing our opposition from getting anything remotely close to an attack, while we've run up nearly an XG of 4 in the first half without having a penalty, which is close to unheard of. Norwich have now finally had a shot on target, which gives Simon the opportunity to make a save and try and pad his stats up a little bit the way Blanco got to do in midweek. But I tell you what, I am loving life at Preston at the moment. I know there's been a few rumblings in the comment section that it might be time to move clubs. We might have taken Preston as far as we can. I mean, are we watching the same save? You think this team has fulfilled all of its potential? I look at this team and think, genuinely, we could win it all with this team. not this year, but 3-4 years' time, if we can keep this group of players and keep adding the right wonder kids at the right time, you're telling me this team can't win the Champions League? I'm not having it. It really, really could. Right, Antas is coming on for Watson. We're going to take off Juan as well. And Harvey White is going to get a rare, I mean, it's not exactly a rare appearance for Harvey White. He still gets game time, but he's not played anywhere near as much this season as he would have done previously. And we're going to bring Eduardo on for Robertson as well. Robertson at 35 doesn't need to still be on the pitch when we're 4-0 up at home against a team who are, I mean, they've only got 2 points all season. I might be getting a little bit too overexcited about how well we're playing against what clearly is a very poor Norwich team. But I am going to take off Reyes, who's on a yellow card. We're going to bring on Tamang again. Once again, get Tamang as much game time as we possibly can. And Ross is on a yellow card. So let's get Marin on to play on the right wing. This time he played left back in Europe. He's now playing right wing in the Premier League. It's total football is what we do here at Preston now. Everyone can play everywhere. They're all interchangeable. What a team. What a squad of players. Oh, what a time to be a Preston fan. Right, can we add number 5? I'd really like Tamang to grab another goal. I want you to see Tamang score because I've seen it. I would like you to see it. Braddock and Tamang, both as young English wonder kids. Ross as well goes into this category, although he's a little bit older and probably not got quite the same upside as Braddock and Tamang. But Braddock and Tamang in a team that's absolutely full of young Spanish players, and de Klerk, who's of course a Belgian international, and lots of foreign players in this Preston team. To have 2 very, very good young English wonder kids knocking around the place is fun, and I want them to succeed. So I want Tamang to do a football for you right now. If we could get the ball into his path, please, and let him have it. We're not going to. We're not going to get another highlight. The game is just picking on me. I want to show off one of my shiny new toys, and Football Manager's decided not today. Boo and hiss. Well, we've got 2 Europa League games coming up tomorrow. If we continue to look as dominant as we did in the first one in Europe, there'll be opportunities for the fringe players, the rotation players, to play in those games as well. We're not going to fully rotate probably for any match, but we're gonna have a little sprinkling of the young up and coming players with the more established players in most matches between now and Christmas, I would expect, as we try and spread the team between the Premier League and the Europa League and stay competitive in both. Braddock's had a fantastic game today, by the way, playing as the deep line playmaker. Not an obvious position for him. We brought him in to be the attacking central midfielder in the 4-3-3. I didn't know that he had a home in this system, but he's had a very good game there, playing as the deepest of our 5 midfield players. So, like I say, it's all about the total football here at Preston now. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.